Hi everybody, we're in the old tattle room and we're tying hooks. If you know me long enough, you know it's not my favourite subject, but it's something that you've got to do because at the end of the day, what's more important than the hook in the fish? It's as simple as that, really. Because the fish has got your hook in it, so it's got to be right. It's got to be really, really perfect, and so I make sure that my hooks are tied perfectly to the hook I want and the line that I want. And I'm not as fussy as my mate Dennis. He inspects every hook under a microscope. I don't know, honestly, every single hook. And he's a lot more fussy than me, I can assure you. So, why I'm tying hooks? Well, we're going to Iberian Masters in a few weeks, and it's really important. It's quite wild fishing. We're fishing for wild carp. We might be fishing 40 metres to far bank that's full of stones and trees and snags and things like that. And of course, underneath, if you ever follow my blogs, you'll see there's lots of snags under your bank as well. It's really important that you've got the proper gear to get these fish out, because trust me, getting one on is difficult, then you've got to get one out. And my philosophy is quite simple. If I hook 10, which is a lot, right, and I get 7 out, I think I've done well. I'm happy with that. 7, 8, 9, 10 is exceptional, because you've got to get the bite on, you've then got to get it away from the snags, then you've got to stop it getting into these snags, and with the fins that are sharp and everything like that, you lose quite a few fish. So 7 out of 10 I think is a really good match, I really do. So it's important I get the hook, and the hook length's absolutely perfect. My reel line is quite simple, 11 pound, 0.26 diameter sublime mono. That's simple, that. But it's the hook line that I'm really fussy about, because I need to know what the diameter is. And what I mean by that is, even though you get your reel line that says 0.21, as you can see, which is the line I use, the sublime mono, right, the rig line, right, even though it says 201, I need to know that it is 0.21. And even in smaller lines is more important. And you might think, why is it important? Well, I know some lines are not what it says on the tin, basically, and they're over. Now, when I'm fishing for silvers or F1s, it's got to be perfect. You can get away with a little bit carp fishing, but you can't with F1s and silverfish fishing. You need to know what it is. So any spool, any new spool that I open like that, I always mic it up. And I've got a micrometer here, and what I do, I just test it to make sure. So if it is over, as long as you know it, it's not really important. But if I'm buying a 0.21 line, I want it to be 0.21 line. So all I do, I get my micrometer like that, and I put it in like that. There you go. And you can see it says 0.215. I ain't really pressed it tight, but can you see that? 0.2. It's really important, that. So I know that because it says 0.21 on there, I know that it is 0.21 because I've tested it, and I'm happy with that. So once I've got that, I'm really happy. So every new spool I get, I just test it. Now that's an old school micrometer. It does the business. It does what I want it to do, and it says exactly right. So I've got my line right, I'm happy. What about the hooks? There's 2 hooks that I tie up. I tie that one, which is the Guru XS in 10, 12, 14, and the old Super Spade, the go-to hook, where I call it. It's my barbel hook, but I use this a lot over there. Now, them's the 2 hooks I'm going to be using. So when I'm fishing 2 and 3 maggots on the hook, 'cause it's nearly all maggot fishing, and it's that, I use a Super Spade, because if I put 3 and 4 on, because of the crystal bend, I find out that one gets stuck in between. It's quite weird, and you bump fish and you hook the maggot instead of the thing. So if I'm putting 4 and 5 maggots on like a nice bunch, I use that one, which is the XS. Now, the reason for that is this. So you can see that the XS there, you can see it, look how round bend it is. You can see that it's a proper round bend. So that means that the maggots hang off, whereas a Super Spade is more crystal. You can see that that's a crystal bend, and what happens is 2 and 3 maggots hangs absolutely perfect. And I'm really happy with them 2 hooks. For me, over the years I've been going, they're the tried and tested hooks that I use. So I just tie them up. On a 10, I tie to 0.23. On a 12, 0.21. And on a 14.19. Them's the two hooks that I'm going to be tying, and them's the lines that I'm going to be tying them to. And like I said, I tie them all to that, to the rig mono. I find that that is a nice line, it works well, and it's nice and limp, which is something that I'm going to be looking for. So the first thing I do, I get my line, get that ready, and I use a hook tie. I use an hook tie. It don't matter how you time. It's not about how you time. It's how you finish off, which I'm going to explain a little bit later. I've always used I've used one of them since being a teenager. The old-fashioned Delco. It's now the Drennan one. I just like using this hook. I don't like the other one, the black one. I think it leaves a kink in the line. And if you use them by hand, that's fair enough. But I've always been brought up with one of them. So the first thing is I get my hook, and I get my hook. And you can see that I'm going to put it that way down. So it goes down, just open it like that, about halfway up the shank, make sure that it's straight like that, and then turn the lever over like that, straight forward. Then I get my line, and what I always do, I always put it between my legs. Now something that's quite important is the colour of the clothing now. You can see I've got black on, got black trainers, what they call it, some trousers, and I've got a black thing. Simply so I can see the hook and the line in the colour. It makes it a lot easier because the colour's light. Then all I do, I get the hook and I point it towards the line. I don't pull it too tight, I just pull it tight. And then I start at the spade and I work away, and I put 7 on. 7 turns. The reason why I put 7 on, lucky 7. And then what I do, I take it back. Now when I finish the hook, and I've finished tying the hook, I don't pull it tight, because this is really important now. This is the most important part of the hook. I just take it off. You can see that it's done like that, but it's not perfect yet. Because this is what a lot of people make mistake on. The first thing is, I want the line, and you can see that, so I want the line to come from underneath the spade, like it is at the moment. And the simple reason is, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to turn it round so it's coming from the top. Now you can see now it's coming from the top, and sometimes like that you can see that it's actually coming from the top of the spade. Now then, you don't want that. This is what one of the things I always say, tie your own hooks, because I want that perfect, because this is really important. Because what happens is, if your line comes from the top, how many times have you hooked a fish on a bite and it's come off like this, like winding, and you've got a little bit of skin or a little bit of snot on the spade? How many times has that happened? Well, I can tell you, it's happened a lot. It's happened to everybody. And the reason is if you hook the fish there, watch the hook, look at it, it turns into, and the spade has now gone into the fish. It's gone into the fish. And now that's really important to me. And so what happens is you bump it and it comes off because you haven't set the hook. So what you've got to do, before you pull it tight, is always wet it and then put it underneath. Just pull it underneath, and now you can put it on your peg, on your thing, and you can pull it tight. Once you've pulled it tight, you can see now that the line now is coming from underneath. Can you see that? It's coming from underneath. So when you hook your fish like that, it's not kinking over, because the line is protecting it, so it'll go straight into the fish. So that's really important what you do. So always make sure that the line is underneath the spade. Pull it tight. What I always do, I always get that and turn it over, and then I pull it tight. Make sure, wet it, pull it tight. Always make sure. You can see I'm really fussy because I know it's that important. I get my scissors then, and I cut the little wicklow off of probably about a 1/16 of an inch away, 2 mils, something like that. Look at that. And there, you've got the perfect hook. That is perfect in my opinion. I'm really happy with that, and I always make sure, before I put it on anything, I always make sure. Now then, what length line do I tie them to? Well, I always tie them to 1 metre. Why? I can cut it back. Because if I want to use 1 metre, it's perfect. If I want to use 50 centimetres, I can cut it down. If I want to use a smaller one on a method feeder or something like that, I can cut it to how I want. I ain't got to do all different sizes. So all I do, I get my rig mate and I measure it up. I set it to a metre, look, and I put it on like that. And then when I get to the metre, I cut it off, and what I do, I make a loop. Now then, when I make a loop, what I do, I make the loop like that, make a big loop, and then I double it up, and I put my finger through, and I turn it once, twice, and put the loop through, and you can see now it's made a longer loop. Wet it, pull it tight, and you can see now, and if you want you can put it on peg and just pull it tight. Just pull it tight like that, cut it off, and you've got your hook length, the hook that you want, to the line that you want, to the length that you want. Cut it off, like that. And now I've got, like I said, hook, length, diameter to what you want. And then all I do, I just put it on a winder. Where's my winder? There you go. One of these new ones from Nitro. I put it on like that, wrap it round, and it's all done. As you can see now, you can see that, look, 0.21, a metre long, what's the other bit? 0.21, a metre long, size 12, super spade, and they're all wrapped up, and I can put them in my box all ready for next time. But the most important thing is, what I'm really fussy about, like I've just explained, is that hook. The hook goes into the fish. Spend time and get that one right, because if you go in and the line's coming from the top, you will bump more fish, and you'll come out with a little bit of skin, a little bit snot, whatever you want to call it, on that spade. That's really annoying. I find that one really, really annoying, because I know I haven't done my job. I haven't tied the hook right. I know that. So there's only one person to blame, and that's Tommy. So if you pre-buy hooks and you buy them already, and there's some good ones nowadays, I'll be honest with you, always make sure, get the hook, and always make sure it's coming from under the spade and not on top of the spade. So, as you know, I love tying hooks, but I won't let anybody else tie them for me. I don't let anybody near them, because I know if I have a problem, it's Tommy's fault. Nobody else's. I can't blame anybody else. And to me, that's really important. But the most important thing is I've got the hook that I want. I've got the line that I want. I've got the length of line I want. And they're all on a winder that go in the box, and I know where they all are. So I've got about 6 hooks to tie, which I can't wait to do, but you've got to do them. If you want to fish against these lads at the top level, you've got to be prepared. I hope you've enjoyed that. There's a couple of little tips there. I hope you've enjoyed it, and there'll be some more to come.